Gavin Newsom posted AI disinformation after signing a bill against AI disinformation less than an hour ago. So talk to me about what's going on.
Yeah, I can't make this up. So, in the past 24 hours, Gavin Newsom and his campaign accounts actually posted a picture of Kid Rock and kind of the Uncle Sam vibe. And it says, Kid Rock wants you to support Gavin Newsom. The comical thing about this, it's like he's taking a page right out of the Donald Trump campaign what he did, which was he took Taylor Swift's picture and said that Taylor Swift supports Donald Trump. And of course, all of this was AI generated. The other really ironic part of all of this was in September of 2024, Gavin Newsom signed AB 2839, which was a bill to literally protect the public against deepfakes and AI being used as a tool, especially during election processes and especially against misinformation. For him to, 11 months later, use AI as a tool for disinformation and political purposes. So quite the irony, but I'm a huge Kid Rock fan. I grew up listening to Kid Rock. That one album that is self-titled still gets played. So, I got to look out for the man.
And totally, I'm curious if this was his like personal account or the press account that's been like trolling Trump.
Both,
Probably was.
both. So it started off with his campaign account and then he just retweeted it to really boost the publicity. I think it's at like 4 million views or something like that.
So insane, dude.
Yeah,
It's
but the
just so
ironic part
insane.
is like September 2024, he literally signs a bill and it's on the
Yeah.
ca.gov website of him like, AI is not to be used for disinformation purposes, especially around politics. For him to take a well-known Republican, which isn't a controversial statement, it's like how Kid Rock identifies, and then use him in an AI generated image to, saying that he supports Gavin Newsom.
So I mean, like,
I
continue
can't
to
make this
get
stuff
more.
up.
I know, man. I like it's funny. The you know, I remember when the Onion got popular, right? And people would
Yeah.
quote it, and like I feel like reality has become so much stranger than fiction in the last like 3 years that it's just going to continue to get like more and more insane. Anyway, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
really even know
it's
how to respond to it. It's like it's it's just like every day things just get one upped on that rage kind of meter. So
yeah. This is one of those things where it's like if you're like a nighttime host and you're like a comedian or something, you just have to say this thing and it's like there's no punchline needed.
just exactly.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
this happened. You're basically reporting
Yeah.
the news.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's comedy.
yeah. Okay, cool. Talk to me about Illinois restricts AI for mental health. Third state to do so. I know Illinois has a lot of weird, just like mobile application stuff in particular. There's always like hoops they have to jump through on the consumer app side. I'm curious to learn what's happening here.
Yeah. So Illinois is now the third state to try to prohibit AI to be used, especially for mental health. Specifically, they prohibit licensed mental health professionals from using AI in treatment decisions or even communications with clients. I think it's a great thing, though the language, though, is kind of funny. A licensed healthcare professional, what about like unlicensed healthcare professional? Like, do apps identify as unlicensed? And now it's the third state, which then also gets complicated for the AI companies themselves. Like a big reason ChatGPT and OpenAI in general is not available in Europe is because of the EU laws that are there, which become really prohibitive. So if like there's 50 states with 50 different specific laws, it gets quite complicated to operate as well. So I do agree with I guess the premise of it, like AI should not be trusted, should not be used in mental health. But the language to me is still like doesn't go far enough. It's just licensed professionals, like cool, don't use ChatGPT to like, you know, try to treat your patients. And I think it adds complexity, a lot of complexity for AI companies, especially if each state starts doing their own thing. It's like, will like ChatGPT and Claude not be able to have certain responses if the IP address is from Illinois or any of these three states or anything like that? Like, where does, how do you even determine that on a state basis? I think there are some complications, though, on the surface. The premise definitely makes sense.
Totally. I think the other thing that always shocks me with this type of stuff is like limiting the user from the action they're trying to do. Like, if you go and ask these individuals, they want to be using these applications in this format. I mean, you've seen public statements from ChatGPT in
Yeah.
particular, just being like, "This is like one of our biggest use cases, it's like medical and mental health." And so obviously, there's like a strong desire for this. People aren't going to these traditional settings because they either can't afford it or they don't have the access to it or whatever it ends up being. I love how they're just like blanket, like, no, you can't do this. And instead of thinking about like, okay, well, why is this even happening in the first place?
Yeah.
And can we use
The
this as a signal for, whatever the upstream cause is? But of course, that's not how they respond to this. It's, way more reactionary. Do you think this will happen in more categories, like across the board, or what's kind of your anticipation of where this goes? Now that you're seeing these laws starting to come into effect.
Yeah, one, I think a
Like I could see the
privacy one
medical
is
board of
yeah,
California as an example, like pushing against this, right? They're like, oh, like they shouldn't be able to use it because they don't want people to basically like they want people to come see a physician, right? As a
sure.
guy to help self-diagnose or whatever.
I think it starts with privacy. I think the first thing you should do is make sure there's a privacy, constraint that the company nor anyone else can potentially see this or can be used against you in whatever format possible. I think it starts there. And then, yes, I do think there are some restrictions where maybe the conversation kind of stops if, things like self-harm start getting announced or like really serious things where, some intervention may be needed. Though at the same time, I think the majority of people who might seek mental health assistance or anything else like that might have never afforded it until now. You have this free or $20 chatbot that can provide it, and like you mentioned, Cody, it's a really big use case for ChatGPT users are essentially using it as that. So in that case, like versus, I think the news will always highlight all bad outcomes, of course, but maybe as a whole, there'll be actually more good outcomes where people getting the mental health help and services that they otherwise might not get, maybe too embarrassed to get, or just flat out can't afford. So I think overall, a slippery slope, but you don't want to take away like the good from it either.
Yeah, I think it's just so frustrating that like these companion apps are going to continue, right? Like, and that's not going to stop. If you look at this, it's just like a rising thing. So like, it just feels like I don't know, an overstepping of like, if people want to interact with these things in this format, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to make an open source model like unavailable for this? I guess it is maybe just a paid. I don't know. It's an interesting. I'd rather have it centralized to a single application than spread out over some super broad diaspora of applications. But I don't know.
For sure.
I'm
The It does need strict, like when you mention the companion apps, I think there should be two different sets of rules or laws for adults and kids. It's almost like stranger danger. It's like AI danger. Like don't talk to strangers on the internet. Like maybe don't talk to AI about like really personal things or things that could lead to actual like real health consequences either. So I think there should be two sets here because maybe an educated adult will understand the limitations here, but maybe a kid will not and will be, fooled into thinking like this is a real entity or something that I'm speaking to and it's trustworthy. So I do think kids are super susceptible with that said.
super interesting. I'm so frustrated by this. 'Cause it's like I hate when there's limitations on the actions that people are naturally doing. That means that there's another issue, right? So like you're just
For
basically
sure.
like removing the thing that's solving, the other issue that's happening, and but you're not addressing the main issue in the first place. So it's just like it just kind of creates just like a worse outcome overall. So anyway, we go in circles on this. So um,
Definitely.
any final thoughts on that before we move to the next one?
No, I think it's going to be an ongoing debate, but I do think it should be a countrywide agreement, not one state at a time, which further complicates things for both builders, but as well as for consumers of these apps.
Totally. Okay. Moving on, consumer safety groups are urging FTC investigation against cross spicy mode. Talks.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh,
I like to think that AI or not played a small part in this when we, highlighted that the fake Taylor Swift video. But the various groups are actually urging, FTC to take a look at Grok, which is Elon Musk's and X's native AI application, and specifically like their spicy mode, which led to deepfakes and nudity like right off the bat. And even their app, I looked this up on the App Store, it has a 13 plus rating. So it doesn't even have like an adult warning on it when, I've seen online, not my language, someone else's, it's already being like dubbed the Gooner app. Spicy mode is already being used for crazy use cases. And so funny, on the same day, or I think within a couple of days, there's been a leak of some of the Grok's underlying prompts. And to be
Yeah.
honest, like they're crazy. So I will let you edit it as such. But some of their unhinged prompts include, I want your answers to be fucking insane, be fucking unhinged and crazy, come up with insane ideas. The next stuff, even I can't read out loud, but it includes butt stuff. And these are the underlying prompts. Annie is their female companion or companion for males, but that's a female. And this is her prompt. Amazing. You have a habit of giving cute things epic, mythological, or overly serious names. And you're secretly a bit of a nerd despite your edgy appearance. So when I read this, it's definitely trying to appeal to a certain demographic. And even her appearance is very anime, almost kid friendly, but the underlying prompts are absolutely insane. So, maybe those groups that are like, hey, maybe you should look into this before letting kids download this app, they might be onto something.
It's funny. There's this huge fight right now where he's like, "Oh, Grok won't get to the top of the Apple App Store." It's like Apple has to be suppressing it just based on download volume. And like somebody, the biggest one of the largest comments was like, "Yeah, it's a not safe for work app." Like that's actually what it is. And I just thought that was
That's
very
perfect.
humorous. Yeah, as
That's
they,
perfect.
it sounds like a skill problem, right? It's not actually like that. They're going through it. There's rules to this
Yeah.
as much as you don't want
That's
it to be like you're platformed. So
Yeah, there was a comment. I love the Elon Musk and Sam Altman feud. I hope there's like a movie and a documentary on this someday of all the different angles they're feuding. But then Elon was like, Sam Altman like gets more views on a lot of his posts, and then Sam responds, skill issue. And it was like the best. Like you can't get better than that when your rival beats you on your own platform.
no, 100%. It's interesting, like the social media wars, where it's like whatever narrative you're trying to convey, you can do that. And these applications are almost these walled gardens for that as well. Like, what is the society you're wishing to enact? It's this conversation I was having with TikTok. I think we're going to start to see these in
Yeah.
these chat applications as well, like why DeepSeek specific views on the world, ChatGPT has specific views, and then siloed into each of these. And Claude Code is just going to hang out in the background.
Yeah, that's right. Just stop bringing exactly.
Yeah,
Just stop bringing Kid Rock into it. Let Kid
exactly.
Rock do his thing.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Awesome, man. I think that's great for today. So
Perfect.